They say Las Vegas is the city of dreams. But if you look closely enough past the blinding neon lights and the dancing fountains, you'll see it for what it really is, a graveyard for the desperate. And tonight, I am the most desperate soul in this entire God-forsaken desert. My name is Ruby. I am 24 years old, and I possess a brain that refuses to shut up. To most people, numbers are just cold, hard data. To me, they are a language. They are colors, they are music, they are a constant flowing river of probability and statistics. Doctors called it a savant syndrome when I was a child. My father called it a gift from God. But tonight, standing beneath the gilded arches of the Olympus Casino, this gift is the only weapon I have left. My father owes $100,000 to a loan shark known only as the Butcher. The name isn't metaphorical. If I don't have the cash by sunrise, they aren't going to break his legs. They are going to take his hands. I took a deep breath, inhaling the scent of the casino. A cloying mixture of recycled oxygen, stale cigarette smoke, expensive perfume, and the metallic tang of adrenaline. I pulled my oversized gray hoodie tighter around my frame, adjusting the thick-rimmed glasses that slid down my nose. I needed to be invisible. I needed to be nobody. Just another mouse scurrying through the lion's den. I walked onto the gaming floor. It was a sensory assault. The cacophony of slot machines ringing, the drunken cheers of tourists, the rhythmic shuffling of cards. It was chaos designed to confuse the mind, to make you lose track of time and money. But my mind doesn't get confused. It gets focused. I navigated through the maze of tables until I found it. Blackjack table 4. The minimum bet was low enough to start, but the maximum was high enough to make a killing. The dealer was a middle-aged man with dead eyes and a mechanical motion. He looked bored. Perfect. A bored dealer is a sloppy dealer. I sat down and placed my entire life savings on the felt. $500. It looked pathetic against the green baize. "Change, please," I whispered. The dealer pushed a small stack of red chips toward me without making eye contact. The game began, and the world disappeared. In my head, the noise of the casino faded into a dull hum. All I saw were the cards. Ace of hearts -1, 5 of spades +1, King of diamonds -1. I didn't just see the cards, I felt them. I tracked every single piece of cardboard that left the shoe. I calculated the running count, converted it to the true count based on the remaining decks. It was a dance of mathematics that happened in the split second between a heartbeat. The deck was cold at first. I bet the minimum. I lost a few hands on purpose. I sighed, ran my hands through my messy hair, and muttered about bad luck like every other amateur gambler. But then the tide turned. The count spiked. The deck was heavy with tens and aces. The probability had shifted in my favor. It was time to hunt. I started increasing my bets, from $10 to 50, from 50 to 200. The chips in front of me began to multiply. It was intoxicating. It was the only time in my life I felt powerful. In the real world, I was a broke waitress with a gambling addict father. But here at this table, I was a queen. I controlled destiny. 1 hour passed, then 2. My stack of chips had grown into a small mountain. $50,000. I was halfway there. "Hit me," I said, my voice steady. The dealer flipped a 6. I had 20. "Dealer busts," he droned. I raked in the chips. My hands were starting to sweat inside my hoodie pockets. I needed to leave. I was pushing my luck. The eye in the sky, the hundreds of cameras hidden in the black domes on the ceiling, missed nothing. Just one more hand, I told myself. Just one big win, and Dad is safe. I pushed everything I had into the center of the circle. Every single chip. The table went silent. The other players, a drunk tourist in a Hawaiian shirt and an elderly woman with an oxygen tank, stopped to stare. "All in." The dealer asked, his eyebrow arching for the first time. "All in," I confirmed. My heart was hammering against my ribs like a trapped bird. The dealer dealt the cards. My first card, an ace. My second card, I didn't look at it. I didn't need to. The count was +12. The probability of a 10-value card coming next was 98.4%. I flipped it over. Queen of spades. Blackjack. "Blackjack pays 3 to 2. The dealer announced, his voice tinged with disbelief. I let out a breath I felt like I had been holding for 24 years. I had done it. Over $100,000 sat in front of me, my father's life, my freedom. Color up, please, I said, trying to keep my hands from shaking as I shoved the high-value chips into my canvas bag. Congratulations, miss, the dealer said, but his eyes flicked upward, toward the ceiling, toward the cameras. A cold chill ran down my spine. I grabbed my bag and turned to leave. I needed to get to the cashier cage, get the cash, and vanish into the desert night. I took 3 steps before a wall of black blocked my path. 2 men stood before me. They were massive, wide as refrigerators, wearing earpieces and identical black suits that strained against their muscles. They didn't look like casino staff. They looked like executioners. Miss Ruby, the one on the left said. He didn't ask for my name. He stated it. My blood turned to ice. I have to go to the bathroom. The boss would like a word. The man continued, ignoring my excuse. I don't know your boss. I'm just leaving. I tried to sidestep them. The man placed a hand on my shoulder. It was heavy, immovable, like a steel clamp. It wasn't a request. I looked around frantically. People were walking by, laughing, drinking, oblivious to the fact that a girl was being abducted in plain sight. That was Vegas. As long as the music played, nobody cared. Please, I whispered, clutching my bag. I didn't do anything. Then you have nothing to worry about. Walk. They flanked me, marching me through the casino floor. We didn't go to the cashier. We went to a private elevator guarded by another suit. He scanned a keycard and the doors slid open. There was only one button on the panel penthouse. The ride up was silent and terrifyingly fast. My ears popped as we ascended 50 floors. I clutched my bag of chips to my chest, my mind racing. Did they see me counting? Are they going to break my fingers? Are they going to take the money? The elevator doors opened with a soft chime. I stepped out into a space that smelled of money. It wasn't just an office. It was a kingdom. The floor was polished black marble that reflected the city lights like a dark mirror. One entire wall was floor-to-ceiling glass, offering a panoramic view of the glittering strip below. It was beautiful, cold, and intimidating. In the center of the room sat a massive desk made of obsidian, and behind it, swiveling a poker chip between his fingers, sat a man. Leave her, the man commanded. His voice was low, smooth, and dark, like whiskey poured over razor blades. The guards bowed slightly and retreated into the elevator, leaving me alone with the monster. Come closer, Ruby, he said. He didn't turn around. He was looking out the window at his city. I walked forward, my sneakers squeaking on the expensive floor. I stopped 10 feet from his desk. Who are you? I asked, my voice trembling but defiant. The chair slowly swiveled around. I felt the air leave my lungs. I had expected an old fat mobster with a cigar. I wasn't prepared for Ace Sterling. He was young, perhaps early 30s. He was devastatingly handsome in a terrifying way. Sharp cheekbones, midnight black hair swept back from a high forehead, and a mouth that looked like it rarely smiled. But it was his eyes that pinned me to the spot. They were gray storm cloud, gray, intelligent, calculating, and utterly devoid of warmth. He was wearing a charcoal 3-piece suit without a tie, the top button of his shirt undone, to reveal a hint of tanned skin. He looked like a fallen angel who had taken over hell and decided to run it as a business. I own this building, Ace said calmly, placing the poker chip on the desk with a click. I own the tables you played on. I own the cards you counted. In short, I own you. I didn't count cards, I lied instantly. I was just lucky. Ace stood up. He was tall, well over 6 feet. He walked around the desk with the grace of a panther stalking a wounded deer. Luck, he scoffed. Luck is a fairy tale for idiots who don't understand math. You, Ruby, are not an idiot. He stopped right in front of me. He was so close I could smell him, sandalwood mint and cold ambition. He reached out and tapped the side of my head with one finger. I watched you for 2 hours, he murmured. High-low system. You keep a running count in your head. You bet small when the deck is neutral. You strike when the true count hits +3. Your deviation is flawless. You play like a machine. I swallowed hard. There was no point in lying. Is it illegal to be smart in your casino? It's not illegal, Ace admitted, his eyes narrowing. But it is against my rules. You stole from the house. I didn't steal. I played by the rules of the game. You tilted the odds, he countered smoothly. And in my house, the house always wins. He leaned back against his desk, crossing his arms over his broad chest. You walked away with $112,000, plus the 500 you started with. My father is in trouble, I blurted out. Please, I just need the money. I'll never come back. I promise. The butcher isn't it? Ace asked casually. My blood ran cold. How do you know? I make it my business to know everything that happens in my city, Ace said. Your father is a fool who borrowed money he couldn't repay, and you are the dutiful daughter trying to save his hands. He walked over to a small bar cart and poured himself a drink. Amber liquid splashed into crystal. He didn't offer me one. Here is the situation, Ruby, he said, taking a sip. I could take that bag of chips from you right now. I could ban you from every casino in Vegas. I could call the butcher myself and tell him where to find your father. I clutched the bag tighter. You wouldn't. I would, he assured me, his voice devoid of emotion. But I'm a businessman, and I hate wasting potential. He walked back to me, his gaze sweeping over my baggy hoodie, my messy hair, my cheap glasses. He curled his lip in distaste. You look like a homeless librarian, he commented. But inside that head is a supercomputer. What do you want? I whispered. I have a problem, Ace said, circling me slowly. Next week, I am hosting the high-stakes poker invitational. The biggest whales in the world are coming. Oil tycoons, tech billionaires, arms dealers. They are bringing millions to my tables. He stopped behind me. I felt his breath on my neck, sending a shiver down my spine. I need to win that tournament, he whispered. Not for the money, for the reputation. I need to crush them. So play, I said, my voice shaking. You're the owner. I can't play and watch everyone at the same time, he said. I need a second pair of eyes, better eyes. I need a human calculator sitting next to me, tracking every card, calculating every pot, odd-reading every bluff. He walked around to face me again. I need a lucky charm. You want me to cheat for you? I asked, horrified. I want you to count for me, he corrected. I want you to be my secret weapon. You help me win the tournament, and I wipe your father's debt. I'll even pay off the butcher myself. I stared at him. It was a lifeline, but it was also a trap. And if I say no, then you leave this room with nothing. Ace shrugged. And your father loses his hands by sunrise. The cruelty of it took my breath away. He held my life in his palm and he was squeezing it just to see if I would break. I don't know how to play poker, I stammered. Only blackjack. I'll teach you, Ace said. He reached out and gently removed my glasses. The world blurred slightly, but his face remained sharp and tense. You have beautiful eyes, he murmured, his thumb brushing my cheekbone. The touch was electric, shocking. It's a shame you hide them behind this cheap plastic. He dropped my glasses onto the desk. We have 3 days to turn you into a weapon, Ruby, he said, his voice dropping to a seductive, dangerous purr. We have to teach you the game. And more importantly, he grabbed the fabric of my oversized hoodie and tugged it. We have to get rid of these rags. If you are going to sit next to Ace Sterling, you need to look like you own the place. You need to look like a queen. He held out his hand, large, calloused, commanding. Do we have a deal, Little Red? I looked at his hand. I looked at the bag of chips that wasn't enough to save me on its own. I looked into his storm gray eyes and saw a challenge. I took his hand. Deal, I whispered. His fingers closed around mine, sealing my fate. Good girl, he smirked. Now let's go shopping. I hope you like the color red. Ace didn't take me to a shopping mall. He took me deeper into his kingdom. He pressed a hidden button under his obsidian desk and a panel in the wall slid open silently. Behind it wasn't a safe or a weapons cache, but a private elevator. Where are we going? I asked, clutching my canvas bag of chips like a shield. My private suite, Ace replied, ushering me inside. The stores are closed, and honestly, nothing they sell is good enough for what I have in mind. The elevator descended 1 floor and opened into a sprawling living space that made the office look like a broom closet. It was all dark leather, chrome, and glass. But what caught my eye was the room to the left. It looked like a high-end boutique exploded inside. Racks of designer gowns, shelves of shoes, and tables covered in jewelry boxes. My personal stylist keeps this stocked for special guests, Ace said, walking over to a rack of dresses. Though usually the guests are leaving in the morning, not arriving at midnight. He turned to me, his eyes scanning my baggy hoodie with undisguised disdain. "Take it off." I froze. "Excuse me?" "The hoodie," he said impatiently. "Take it off. I can't dress a ghost. I need to see the structure." My cheeks burned. Underneath this hoodie, I was wearing a faded t-shirt and jeans that had seen better days. I wasn't a model. I was a girl who ate ramen for dinner. "I can dress myself." I snapped, my pride flaring up. Ace sighed. He walked over to me, invading my personal space again. He reached out his fingers, hooking into the zipper of my hoodie. "You are my investment now, Ruby," he murmured slowly, pulling the zipper down. The sound was loud in the quiet room. "I protect my investments, and I polish them until they shine." He peeled the hoodie off my shoulders. I stood there in my thin t-shirt, feeling exposed. I expected him to mock me, to laugh at my lack of curves or my cheap clothes. Instead, his gaze intensified. He circled me slowly like a sculptor examining a block of marble. "Good posture," he noted. "Long neck and legs." He glanced down at my jeans. "Legs that go on for days, hidden under denim." He walked back to the racks. He flipped through silk, velvet, and chiffon, dismissing them one by one. Finally, he stopped. He pulled out a hanger. It was a dress made of liquid fire. Deep, blood-red silk. It looked small. Dangerous. "This one," he decided. "Go try it on. The bathroom is through that door." I took the dress. The fabric felt like cool water against my skin. I retreated to the bathroom, locking the door behind me with trembling hands. I stripped off my old clothes and stepped into the silk. It fit. Perfectly. Terrifyingly perfectly. It hugged my waist, accentuated my hips, and the neckline plunged in a daring V. But the back was the boldest part. It was completely open, dipping low, exposing my spine. I looked in the mirror. The girl staring back wasn't Ruby, the math nerd. She was someone else. Someone dangerous. I took a deep breath and opened the door. Ace was waiting. He had poured 2 glasses of wine. He was looking at his phone, typing something. I cleared my throat. He looked up. The phone slipped from his fingers and landed on the carpet with a soft thud. He didn't speak. He didn't move. He just stared. His gray eyes darkened, the pupils blowing wide until the irises were almost black. He looked like a man who had been starving for years and had just been presented with a feast. The silence stretched thick and heavy with tension. "Well?" I asked, shifting uncomfortably. "Is it okay? Or do I look like a kid playing dress-up?" Ace stood up. He walked towards me, slowly stalking his prey. He didn't stop until the toes of his shoes touched mine. "You look—" His voice was a low rumble, rougher than before. "Like trouble. My kind of trouble." He reached out. I thought he was going to touch my arm, but his hand went behind me. His fingers brushed the bare skin of my back. I gasped. His skin was cool, a stark contrast to my burning flesh. A shiver violently racked my body. "You're trembling, little Red," he whispered, leaning down. "Are you cold, or are you scared?" "I'm not scared of you." I lied. "You should be." His hand slid up my spine, tracing the vertebrae one by one. It was an possessive, intimate touch. He wasn't just checking the fit of the dress. He was claiming the skin beneath it. "Hair up," he commanded softly. "What?" "Your hair. It hides your neck." He moved both hands to my hair, gathering the messy waves and lifting them off my neck. He held my hair up, exposing the sensitive nape. Then he leaned in. I closed my eyes. I could feel his breath against my skin. He was so close. Was he going to kiss me? "Stay still," he murmured. I felt something cold and heavy settle around my neck. A necklace. I opened my eyes and looked down. A diamond pendant shaped like a teardrop rested in the hollow of my throat. It caught the light, sparkling like a star. "Diamonds," Ace whispered against my ear, his lips grazing the shell. "Cold. Hard. Unbreakable. Just like you need to be." He fastened the clasp behind my neck. His fingers lingered there, his thumbs stroking the soft skin behind my ears. "There," he said, stepping back to admire his handiwork. "Now you look like $1,000,000, which is exactly what we are going to win." He walked over to a table and picked up a deck of cards. "Lesson 1, Ruby. Poker is not about the cards. It's about the people. It's about lying." He sat on the leather sofa and patted the spot next to him. Sit. I sat careful not to let the slit in the dress reveal too much leg. Ace noticed my hesitation and smirked. Don't hide it, he said. Use it. Distraction is a valid strategy. He shuffled the deck. The sound was hypnotic. Riffle, bridge, cut. Blackjack is you against the dealer, he explained, dealing 2 hands. Poker is you against the world. In blackjack, you play the math. In poker, you play the man. He held up a card facing away from me. What is this card? I don't know. I can't see it. Look at my eyes, he commanded. Look at my face. Tell me what I'm holding. I looked at him. Really looked at him. The sharp jaw, the arrogant curve of his lips, the storm in his eyes. You're blinking, I noted. Just a tiny bit faster. And your grip on the card, it's tight. So, it's a bad card, I guessed. A low number, a 2 or a 3. Ace flipped the card. It was a 2 of clubs. Good, he smiled. It was the first genuine smile I had seen from him. It transformed his face, making him look less like a devil and more like a man. A dangerous, beautiful man. Now, he said, leaning closer. Your turn. Lie to me. What? Pick a card. Look at it. And tell me you have a royal flush when you have nothing. I picked a card. 7 of diamonds. Useless. I took a breath. I tried to channel my inner actress. I tried to look confident. I have an ace, I said. An ace of spades. Ace laughed. A rich, dark sound. He reached out and tucked a stray lock of hair behind my ear. His hand lingered on my cheek, his thumb brushing my lower lip. You're terrible, he whispered. Your pulse is jumping in your neck, your pupils dilated, and you bit your lip. I did not, I protested, my face heating up. You did, it's cute, but at the poker table, cute gets you eaten alive. He moved his hand from my face to my shoulder, then down my bare arm, his touch scorching a path. He took my hand and placed it on his chest right over his heart. Feel that, he asked. I felt the steady, slow thrum of his heart through the silk of his shirt. Thump, thump, thump. It was calm, controlled. That is the heartbeat of a liar, he said. When I bluff, my heart doesn't speed up. It slows down. I become ice. He leaned in closer until our faces were inches apart. You need to learn how to be ice, Ruby. You need to let me get close to you and feel nothing. He closed the distance. His lips brushed against mine, a feather-light touch, a tease, a question. My heart exploded. It hammered against my ribs like a drum solo. I couldn't breathe. I couldn't think. All I could feel was him. See, he whispered against my lips. You failed. Your heart is racing. He pulled back, leaving me breathless and dizzy. He stood up, buttoning his jacket, the mask of the cool casino owner back in place. We have a lot of work to do, he said, walking towards the door. Get some sleep. Tomorrow we practice bluffing. And Ruby? I looked up, dazed. Yes. He paused at the door, looking back at me in the red dress. His eyes darkened again. Lock your door, he warned. Because looking like that, you might tempt even the devil himself. He walked out, leaving me alone in the penthouse suite. I touched my lips where his had been. They were tingling. I looked at the cards scattered on the table. I realized then that the most dangerous game I was playing wasn't poker. It was whatever was happening between me and Ace Sterling. And for the first time in my life, I didn't know the odds. The night of the high-stakes invitational arrived. The private gaming room of the Olympus was transformed into a gladiator arena, but instead of sand and blood, there was velvet and bourbon. The air was thick with smoke and tension. 5 men sat around the oval table. They were the titans of industry, men who owned islands and armies. And then there was me. I walked in beside Ace. I was wearing the red dress. My hair was swept up, exposing the diamond necklace that felt heavy against my skin. I wasn't Ruby the waitress anymore. I was the lucky charm. Gentlemen, Ace announced, his hand resting possessively on the small of my back. Meet my partner for the evening, Ruby. The men looked up, some with curiosity, others with lust. A woman, scoffed Viktor Petrov, a Russian oil tycoon with fingers like sausages. This is a serious game, Sterling, not a date night. She's not a date, Ace replied smoothly, pulling out a chair for me. She's my luck. Unless you're afraid of a little bad luck, Victor. Petrov grunted and gestured for the dealer to deal. I sat down. Ace didn't sit. He stood right behind my chair, looming like a dark shadow. He was my shield and my weapon. The game began. Texas Hold'em, no limit. My job was simple: count the outs, calculate the pot odds, read the tells, and signal Ace. But Ace had a different plan. Fold, he whispered in my ear as I looked at a pair of queens. I stiffened. Queens were good. Why fold? Trust me. His breath ghosted over my neck. I folded. The next card on the flop was a king. Petrov had kings. I would have lost. I looked up at Ace. He winked. As the night went on, we fell into a rhythm. It was a silent dance. I did the math, he played the people. When I had a strong hand, Ace would lean down his arm, brushing against my bare shoulder. Play it cool, Red. He'd murmur, his fingers tracing the back of my chair dangerously close to my skin. The other men watched him, watched his hand on me, and lost focus. They were distracted by the Beauty and the Beast act while I was robbing them blind. By midnight, 2 players had busted out. Only Petrov and a quiet tech billionaire named Chen remained. The pot was huge, $2 million. I looked at my cards. Ace of hearts, king of hearts. The flop came down 10 of hearts, jack of hearts, 2 of clubs. I had a flush draw, and a straight flush draw. The odds were astronomical. Petrov went all in. 2 million, he growled, shoving a mountain of chips forward. Let's see if your luck holds, little girl. I hesitated. 2 million. It was more money than I would earn in 10 lifetimes. My heart began to race. My ice was melting. I felt a hand on my shoulder. Ace. He didn't speak. He squeezed my shoulder, his thumb digging into the tense muscle. It wasn't a comforting squeeze. It was a command. Steady. He leaned down, his cheek brushing against my hair. To the room, it looked like a lover's whisper. His pulse is visible in his neck, Ace breathed into my ear. He's bluffing. He missed his draw. Kill him. The heat of his body, the scent of his cologne, the absolute confidence in his voice. It steadied me. I wasn't a broke girl. I was Ace Sterling's partner. I looked Petrov in the eye. I smiled the smile Ace had taught me, cold, mysterious, terrifying. Call, I said, pushing my chips in. Petrov turned pale. The dealer turned the river card. Queen of hearts, royal flush. The table erupted. Petrov slammed his fist down, cursing in Russian. Chen shook his head in disbelief. She's a witch, Petrov shouted, pointing a shaking finger at me. No one gets that lucky. She's not a witch, Ace said, his voice cutting through the noise. He stepped forward, placing a hand on the table, claiming the pot and me in one gesture. She's just better than you. He looked down at me. His eyes were shining with triumph. And something else. Adrenaline, desire. Good girl, he whispered. We took a break. Ace led me to the private balcony overlooking the strip. The desert wind whipped my hair, cooling my flushed skin. We did it, I breathed, leaning against the railing. We're winning. We are destroying them, Ace corrected. He handed me a glass of champagne. You were magnificent in there. I was terrified. You hit it well. He moved closer, the lights of Vegas reflected in his eyes. You know, he said, his voice dropping. When you pushed those chips in, when you called Petrov's bluff, you looked crazy. Powerful, he finished. It's a good look on you. He reached out and touched the diamond necklace at my throat. His fingers lingered on my skin. The adrenaline from the game was still coursing through my veins, mixing with the champagne and his proximity. My father's debt, I started. Is paid, Ace said dismissively. I wired the money an hour ago. The butcher won't touch him. I stared at him. You paid it already. We haven't even finished the game. I knew we would win, Ace shrugged. I never bet on a losing horse. Tears pricked my eyes. Not of sadness, but of relief so profound it made my knees weak. Thank you. Don't thank me yet, Ace murmured, stepping into my space. We still have to finish the game, and then we have to settle our deal. Our deal. You belong to me until the tournament ends, remember? He leaned down. His face was inches from mine. The tension that had been building all night, every touch at the table, every whisper, was about to snap. Ace. He tilted his head. He was going to kiss me. For real this time. No bluffing. Boss? A voice interrupted us. We pulled apart. It was Marcus, the head of security. He looked grim. "We have a problem," Marcus said. "Dealer Crystal claims she saw something." Ace's face hardened instantly. The lover vanished. The boss returned. "Saw what?" "She says Ruby was palming chips, stealing from the pot." My stomach dropped. "What? No, I never." "She demanded a search." Marcus continued, looking apologetic. "And we found this in Miss Ruby's purse." He held up a plastic bag. Inside was a single black chip. Value $50,000. I stared at it in horror. "I didn't put that there, I swear." Ace turned to me. His face was unreadable. The warmth was gone from his eyes, replaced by the icy gray of a winter storm. "Stealing?" he asked quietly. "After I paid your debt? After I gave you everything? Ace, please." I begged, reaching for his arm. "I didn't do it. Someone planted it." He pulled his arm away. "Bring her to the office," Ace ordered Marcus. "And bring Crystal." He walked away without looking back. I watched him go, my heart shattering. The game wasn't over. The real gamble had just begun. And the odds were suddenly stacked against me. The walk from the poker room to Ace's office felt like a funeral march. 2 hours ago, I had walked these halls as a queen, Ace's hand on my back, diamonds around my neck. Now I was flanked by security guards clutching my purse like it contained a bomb. Crystal, the dealer, walked ahead of us. Her hips swayed with an arrogant rhythm. She glanced back at me, once a smirk playing on her red lips. It was the smile of a predator who knew the trap had snapped shut. We entered the office. The door clicked shut, sealing us in with the silence and the panoramic view of the neon city below. Ace walked behind his desk. He didn't sit. He stood there, unbuttoning his suit jacket, his face unreadable. He looked like a statue carved from ice and indifference. "Empty the bag," he commanded. I stepped forward, my hands shaking so badly I could barely undo the clasp. I turned my purse upside down over his desk. Lipstick, a crumpled tissue, my phone, and clatter. A heavy black chip hit the obsidian surface with a damning sound. It spun for a moment before settling. The gold letters stamped on it mocked me, $50,000. The room went deadly silent. "Well," Ace said, his voice devoid of warmth, "there it is." "I didn't put it there," I whispered, looking up at him, pleading with my eyes. "Ace, please. You have to believe me. Why would I steal $50,000 when you just paid off a debt twice that size? It doesn't make sense." "Thieves don't use logic, Ruby," Crystal interjected, her voice dripping with fake sympathy. She walked over to the desk, standing close to Ace. Too close. "They use instinct." She saw an opportunity during the break. She thought she was smart enough to trick you, just like she tricked the pit bosses with her card counting. Crystal turned to Ace, placing a hand on his arm. "I warned you, Ace. You can put a diamond necklace on a street rat, but she's still a street rat. She was playing you the whole time." Ace looked at Crystal's hand on his arm, then at me. He didn't shake her off. My heart shattered. He believed her. Of course he did. She was one of them, part of this glittering, treacherous world. I was just the hired help with a criminal father. "Ruby," Ace said softly, "come here." I dragged my feet forward until I was standing directly across from him. "Look at me." I forced myself to meet his gaze. His eyes were storm gray, swirling with something I couldn't identify. Anger, disappointment, or something darker. "Do you know what the penalty for theft is in my casino?" he asked quietly. I didn't steal it. I choked out, tears spilling over. "The penalty," he continued, ignoring my denial, "is usually a broken hand, the right hand specifically, so you can never pick up a chip again." He reached out and grabbed my right wrist. His grip was iron. He pulled my hand forward, slamming it flat against the desk right next to the stolen chip. "Ace, no," I screamed, trying to pull back. "Please, I swear on my father's life." "Your father is a gambler," Ace spat. "His word means nothing. Does yours?" "Yes," I sobbed. "Yes, I played your game. I wore your dress. I won you millions. Why would I throw it all away for this? He stared down at me, his face inches from mine. I could smell the bourbon on his breath. I could see the individual flecks of silver in his irises. He was terrifying. Crystal says she saw you, Ace murmured. She's lying, I yelled, looking at the blonde woman who was watching with gleeful anticipation. She hates me. She's jealous because you let me stand next to you. Jealous. Crystal laughed a harsh, brittle sound. Honey, I share Ace's bed. Why would I be jealous of his charity case? Ace's grip on my wrist tightened until I gasped in pain. But he wasn't looking at me anymore. He was looking at Crystal. You share my bed. Ace repeated, his voice dangerously low. Crystal faltered. Well, I mean, we have a history, Ace. You know I'm loyal to you, unlike her. Ace slowly released my wrist. He picked up the black chip, flipping it over his knuckles with a dexterity that was hypnotic. Loyalty, Ace mused. That is a heavy word, Crystal. Loyalty means honesty. Loyalty means putting the house above yourself. He walked around the desk. He didn't stop at me. He walked past me towards the wall of monitors that acted as the security hub for the penthouse. You said you saw her take it at 11:42 p.m., Ace said, his back to us. Yes, Crystal nodded eagerly. During the refreshment break, she thought no one was looking. And you said the cameras at table 1 were glitching. Yes, the feed was down. That's why she did it then. She knew the blind spot. Ace turned around. A slow, cruel smile spread across his face. It wasn't the smile of a lover. It was the smile of the devil himself. Crystal, he said softly, I own the most sophisticated surveillance system in the Western Hemisphere. Do you really think my cameras glitch? Crystal's face went pale. But the monitor in the pit was black. I turned it off, Ace revealed. I wanted to see who would take the bait. He pressed a button on the wall console. A massive 80-inch screen flickered to life. Let's watch a movie, Ace suggested. Chapter 5. The Verdict in 4K. The screen showed Table 1, high definition, 4K resolution. Every dust mote was visible. The timestamp read 11:41:50 p.m. On screen, I was laughing at something Petrov said. I looked happy, radiant. I turned to grab my water glass. And then movement. From the left side of the screen, a hand appeared. It wasn't my hand. My hands were on the table. This hand had long manicured nails painted hot pink. On the wrist sat a distinctive gold charm bracelet. The hand moved with the speed of a magician. It palmed a black chip from the dealer's tray crystal's tray, and in one fluid motion slid it into the open mouth of my purse sitting on the floor. Ace paused the video. The image froze. The evidence was undeniable. The gold bracelet on the screen matched the one dangling from Crystal's trembling wrist. Silence descended on the room. A heavy, suffocating silence. I let out a breath, my knees shaking so hard I had to grab the desk for support. He has it. He has the proof. Ace didn't look at the screen. He looked at Crystal. That is a very distinct bracelet. Ace noted, his voice conversational, which made it all the more terrifying. Cartier. A gift from a high roller last month, if I recall. Crystal was backing away towards the door. Ace. Wait. I can explain. It was a joke. A prank. A prank, Ace repeated. He took a step towards her. You tried to frame my partner for theft. You tried to make me break her hand. You tried to destroy her life. She's nobody, Crystal shrieked, her composure shattering. She's just a card counter. Why do you look at her like that? You never looked at me like that. I've worked for you for 5 years, Ace. I've done everything for you. You did your job, Ace said coldly. And tonight, you tried to play God in my casino. He stopped right in front of her. He towered over her, his shadow consuming her. I don't tolerate thieves, Crystal, but I despise liars even more. He turned to the guards. Marcus. The head of security stepped forward. Boss? Take her to the back, Ace ordered. His voice was flat, final. Strip her of her license. Put her name on the blacklist. Global. Las Vegas, Macau, Monte Carlo, Atlantic City. Make sure she never deals a card again. Make sure she can't even get a job sweeping floors in a bingo hall. Ace, please. Crystal fell to her knees, grabbing his pant leg. Don't do this. This is my life. I have nowhere else to go. Ace looked down at her with zero sympathy. He shook his leg free of her grasp. You should have thought of that before you tried to hurt what is mine. Get her out of here, he barked. Crystal's screams echoed down the hallway as Marcus dragged her out. I love you, Ace. She's going to ruin you. She's a witch. The elevator doors slid shut, cutting off her voice. We were alone. The adrenaline that had held me upright suddenly vanished. My legs gave out. I sank onto the carpet, burying my face in my hands, sobbing. The relief was overwhelming, but so was the terror. I had come so close to losing everything. I heard footsteps approaching, slow, deliberate. Ace knelt in front of me. He didn't touch me at first. He just waited until my sobs subsided to hiccups. Ruby, he said softly. I looked up. My face was a mess, makeup running, eyes swollen. I must have looked hideous compared to the glamorous woman I was an hour ago. But Ace looked at me as if I were the only source of light in the room. The ice in his eyes had melted, leaving behind a raw, naked intensity. I'm sorry, he said. You threatened to break my hand, I whispered accusingly. I had to see how she would react. Ace explained, reaching out to tuck a strand of hair behind my ear. His fingers were gentle now. I had to make her believe I was on her side so she would get confident, so she would lie more. You scared me. I hit his chest weakly. I thought you hated me. Hate you. Ace let out a dry, incredulous laugh. He grabbed my hand, the one he had slammed against the desk, and brought it to his lips. He kissed my knuckles, then my palm, then the sensitive skin of my wrist. I would sooner cut off my own hand than hurt yours, little red. He vowed, his breath warm against my skin. These hands, they are magic. They saved me tonight. I didn't save you, I sniffled. I just played cards. No. Ace shook his head. You don't understand. I have been surrounded by sharks and liars my whole life. Crystal, Petrov, they are all the same. But you... He cupped my face with both hands, forcing me to look at him. You sat there with a gun to your head, essentially, and you didn't sell me out. You played honorably. You are the only real thing in this entire city of fakes. He leaned forward and kissed my forehead. It was a chaste kiss, a promise. Let's get out of here, he said, standing up and pulling me with him. I'm done with poker for tonight. I want to cash out. Ace didn't take me home. He took me to the roof. The private helipad of the Olympus was the highest point in Las Vegas. The wind whipped my red dress around my legs. Below us, the strip was a river of light, but up here it was just the stars and the desert wind. Ace walked to the edge, leaning against the railing. He loosened his tie and took a deep breath of the cool air. Are you going to fire me? I asked, joining him. Now that the tournament is over. The tournament isn't over, Ace said, turning to face me. We made the final table, but I forfeited my seat. What? Why? I gasped. We were going to win millions. Money is just paper, Ruby, Ace said dismissively. I have enough money to buy God. I realized tonight that I was playing for the wrong prize. He reached into his jacket pocket. I expected him to pull out a cigarette or maybe a phone. Instead, he pulled out a single playing card. He held it up. It was the Ace of Hearts. On the white surface of the card, written in bold black marker, were two words, all in. I stared at it confused. I don't understand. It's a bet, Ace said, his voice serious. The biggest bet of my life. He stepped closer, closing the distance between us until our bodies were almost touching. My father taught me that a smart man never bets what he can't afford to lose, Ace whispered. For 10 years I have followed that rule. I never bet my heart. I never let anyone close enough to hurt me. He took my hand and placed the card in my palm, curling my fingers around it. But then a girl in a gray hoodie walked into my casino and counted her way into my life. He smiled, a crooked, boyish smile that made my knees weak. And suddenly, the math changed. The odds changed. Ace, I'm betting everything on you, Ruby, he said, his voice rough with emotion. Not just my money, my trust, my sanity, my heart. I'm pushing all my chips to the center of the table. He looked deep into my eyes, stripping away all my defenses. I cleared your father's debt, he said. You are free. You can walk away right now. Take the elevator down, get a cab, and never see me again. I won't stop you. He paused, his Adam's apple bobbing as he swallowed. Or, you can call the bet. And if I call, I whispered, my heart racing faster than it ever had at the blackjack table. What do I win? You win me, Ace said. The casino, the empire, the man, all of it, yours. I looked at the card in my hand. All in. I looked at the man standing before me. The man who had terrified me, challenged me, defended me, and now loved me. I didn't need to count cards to know the probability of finding a love like this. It was 1 in a billion. I didn't hesitate. I dropped the card. It fluttered to the ground, forgotten. I reached up and grabbed the lapels of his jacket, pulling him down. I call, I said. Ace let out a groan, a sound of pure relief and hunger, and crashed his lips onto mine. It wasn't a polite kiss. It was an explosion. It was messy and desperate and perfect. His arms wrapped around me, lifting me off my feet, crushing me against his chest. I wrapped my legs around his waist, burying my hands in his hair. He tasted of whiskey and victory. He kissed me like I was the oxygen he had been holding his breath for. I love you, he murmured against my lips. I love you, my lucky charm. I love you too, I breathed back. My ace. We stood there on top of the world, kissing as the sun began to rise over the Nevada desert, turning the sky from black to gold. Below us, the city of gamblers woke up to another day of losses, but up here we had already won. The high-stakes room at the Olympus was buzzing. Smoke, expensive cognac, and the sound of fortunes changing hands. Place your bets, gentlemen, I announced, my voice cutting through the noise. I wasn't wearing a hoodie anymore. I was wearing a tailored black tuxedo suit with a diamond brooch pinned to the lapel. I wasn't counting cards from the shadows. I was running the floor. As the new director of VIP operations and the fiancée of the owner, I was the most feared and respected woman in Vegas. I walked between the tables, checking the dealers, calculating the house edge in my head just for fun. A pair of strong arms wrapped around my waist from behind. I didn't flinch. I leaned back into the familiar warmth. How are the sharks tonight? Ace whispered in my ear, nipping the sensitive skin of my neck. Hungry? I replied, smiling. But the house is up 3 million. Good, Ace murmured. Let them play. I have a different game in mind for us. Oh. I turned in his arms, facing him. What kind of game? Ace smirked, that dangerous, devastating smirk that still made my heart skip a beat. Strip poker, he whispered. In my office. Right now. I laughed, tracing the line of his jaw. I don't know, Mr. Sterling. I'm a very good player. You might lose your shirt. I'm counting on it, he said. He took my hand and led me away from the tables towards the private elevator. The guards nodded as we passed. The tourists stared. But we didn't care. We were Ace and Ruby, the king and queen of Las Vegas, and we had the best hand in the deck.